Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IS Current Affair Analysis for 12th October 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from The Hindu and it is titled Ending Conflict in the Caucasus. Now when we are talking about Caucasus, it is a region between Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. This region has parts of Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, etc. This region is in news because of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, a long-standing dispute over a mountainous region between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This conflict started nearly 3 decades ago, that is 30 years ago, since before the fall of the Soviet Union. But what happened in the last week is there was a flare-up in the South Caucasus between Armenia, Azerbaijan suddenly. And this is likely the most violent since the war of the 1990s, which killed thousands of people and saw ethnic cleansing committed on both sides. So, as evidence mounts of direct Turkey involvement, the new development here is the risks of sharp escalation can draw in more regional powers. So, this region has historically been a region of conflict, and even world wars have begun in this region because of the conflicts arising in that region. So, what is this conflict about and what is the origin? It has its origin from the time of Stalin. So, back then, independent countries of Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan were a part of a larger Soviet Union or USSR. The borders of Azerbaijan were drawn to include majority of the Armenian Nagorno-Karabakh region. At that particular point of time, it didn't really matter because both Armenia and Azerbaijan were a single part of the same state called USSR. But the real trouble began in 1990s when a border dispute started after the collapse of USSR. Nagorno-Karabakh declared its independence, and Armenian forces and Azerbaijan forces had to fight a brutal war over the territory control. So, after the Armenian forces and Azerbaijan forces have fought over this region, it is internationally now recognized as a part of Azerbaijan, but it gained de facto independence as a republic which is recognized by Armenia, and the name of that republic is Artsakh. So, negotiations to stall the conflict have not really made any progress, but it has been 30 years since a new conflict has broken out. So, a new conflict has broken out in the last week. So, what are the implications of this fallout? So, the renewed conflict is a tragedy for both sides of the civilians. So, it will also include the Armenian citizens who settled in the region. They have no responsibility for the political situation of their state, and yet they will have to face the heat of this struggle. Regardless of the legal status of this region, without discussions, direct conflict resolution will not happen, and the fact that Armenia and Azerbaijan forces are engaging in armed conflict is a real cause of concern because of the history that this region has. In this context, we have to talk about the Madrid Principles. So, what is this? It is nothing but a proposed peace settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So, this Madrid Principles document had basically 6 agendas. So, the first one amongst them is a return of the territories surrounding Nagorno-Karabakh to Azerbaijani control. The second one is an interim status for the region which ensures security and self-governance. Third one is it ensured that there will be a corridor linking Armenia to the region so that Armenians who are staying in this region do not lose any connection with Armenia. The next one is the region has a right for defining its final legal status. So, the future determination of the status of the region will be carried out through a binding expression of will. How this will happen will be decided in the future. The next one is regarding the refugees. The right of all internally displaced persons will be ensured to return to their former places of residence. The next one is the international security agencies will guarantee that there will be a peacekeeping operation in the region. So these are the principles that this region should focus upon and ensure that the peace is restored in the region. Involvement of countries like Turkey and Russia will even further escalate the target. So this is economically very important region because it is located in an area where there are rich oil supplies. So this will also have implications to Europe and also Central Asian region. Therefore, it is very much necessary to settle this conflict as soon as possible. The world cannot afford another conflict, because when we're talking about the region west to the Central Asian region, we already have the Syrian crisis, which is yet to be resolved. Russia's involvement in this region is very much obvious, and whenever Russia enters a particular scene, there is every chance that USA might intervene in this region to counter Russia. And also, given the ambitions that China has, it will be interesting to see how China will take a stance on this region and this conflict. So overall, the best way to go forward on this issue is through dialogue, but not any conflict which has arms involved. In this context, we also have to take inspiration from the 1975 Helsinki Principles, which signed on the Confederation of Security and Cooperation in Europe. To conclude in simple terms, what we can say is, just like every other armed conflict is concerned, the only way to arrive at a conclusion is through a dialogue. Now we have to create grounds to ensure that this dialogue happens and the tensions de-escalate. That is the only thing we can do for a peaceful resolution of the conflict. The second article for the day is taken from the Live Mint, and it is titled, India's local governments must do better in raising revenues. So this is about local finances. Now when we're talking about local governments, generally in governance we will be talking about three aspects. One is the funds aspect, the other one is functions that are carried out by the local governments, and third one, it is the functionaries who are equipped to handle the local problems and provide solutions for these problems. Local governments generally have a problem with all these aspects, and the most important one amongst them, which can take care of the other two functions or other two aspects of governance, is the funds aspect. The question that we have to ask is, how do we raise the revenue of the local governments? When we are talking about local governments, we have to emphasize more on urban local bodies. The constitution of our country has empowered the state legislatures to authorize a panchayat or a municipality to do certain duties. The first one amongst them is authorize a panchayat or a municipality to levy, collect and appropriate taxes, duties, tolls and fees. The second one is, if it is not directly empowered to take the taxes and collect the taxes, it can either assign to a panchayat taxes, duties and tolls, which will be collected by the state government later. So what will this achieve for the local body is, it gives them experience in collecting taxes. So somewhere down the line, panchayats will be having the experience of collecting taxes and the mechanism will be well established. The third one is having a grant in aid. So the state governments and state legislatures, to be specific, can provide grant in aids to the panchayats, municipalities from the consolidated fund of the state. Also, there is a provision for constitution of funds. There will be different funds for different purposes. So all the monies of the funds which belong to panchayats and municipalities can be constituted by the state government or the state legislature rather, and the funds can be transferred to the respective panchayats and municipalities. So due to this, the institutions at the lower level like rural governments or panchayats can mobilize higher resources from tax collection. That is the basic idea behind this 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, but that didn't happen in reality. For instance, urban local governments are generating around 45% of the total revenues from own sources. But there is still a whopping gap of nearly 55%. And the situation is even worse in panchayat level, where 95% of the revenue is through devolution. So the idea of decentralized governance can become a reality only when they have local finances. The per capita own revenue collected by urban local governments is about 3% of the urban per capita income. And when we talk about the local panchayats, it's just a shocking 0.1%. States such as Uttar Pradesh depend almost entirely on transfers. But when we're talking about places like Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, they do collect some taxes. So they collect around roughly 30% as per these surveys that are mentioned in the article. But if we take a look at the third tier of our government, India's governance is completely at the mercy of the center. So the local bodies' reliance on own sources is about 6% in total across the country. This is way below than the third tier governments in even comparable countries like Brazil, where 40% of the revenue is generated in Brazil through local government taxes only. So panchayats raise only 4% when we are talking about the country across. So this is also less than the 19% collected in Brazil. So the entire picture is we are not doing enough collection, and we can definitely do a better job. So if one has to analyze the reason, one of the major and most obvious reason is lack of political will. Why we are saying this is because if we actually devolve the power to the local governments, MPs and MLAs don't have much significance apart from policy making. So this losing of political power is one of the major motivating factors for stopping the growth of local governments. The present crisis of GST tax shortfalls is actually not helping the local governments as well. So this GST case shows us that there should definitely be some local taxes, and at least there should be some mechanism for the local governments to use this GST revenues directly. So there should be a new mechanism, and there should be a central taxation like GST, which should be much more flexible to increase the tax revenues from rural areas. So obviously when we are talking about rural areas, we have a huge chunk of population who are daily wage labor. Obviously we can't tax them because the amount that they will be earning is very meager. So what should be the way forward? In our country, agricultural taxes are a big no. So there is no reason why we have to stop ourselves from taxing large landholding farmers, because it will increase the tax revenues at lower levels. So that is one idea we can definitely embrace. Another solution that the article proposes for cities is using its land resources to a better use. For example, a city like Bengaluru has a lot of potential in collecting non-tax revenue in the form of parking fee. But a lot of shopping complexes and different places try to leverage this parking fee as a source of revenue. Why not the government directly step in and use this area which is under the government land as a parking fee? Why not collect certain amount of token amount from the corporates also to raise this parking fee, and in return offer something to them? In fact, when the government fails to extract economic value, other actors step in. For example, it is here where public space was also converted into parking space by private individuals in a lot of places in Bangalore. So this is just because, again, we are going back to the same point, just because of the lack of political will. That should stop right now, and the provisions that are envisioned under the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act should be implemented as soon as possible. Only then we will have better cities and a smooth transition from rural areas to urban areas. So there is a continuum that exists between rural and urban areas. So the semi-urban areas or suburban areas should be urbanized to an extent that it is sustainable. So this smooth transition will be possible only if we raise revenues and increase the employment opportunities in the region. That is the gist of this article.